Adolescence caught the attention of the public because of its hard-hitting themes and bold artistic choices. But was it any good? We are here to find out. Fred and I, using the patented Mate Night system of cutting-edge statistical models, will score it out of 10 in a few categories and take the average.
No, that's not how it works. It's secret formula.
Cutting-edge stats.
11 herbs and spices.
And we will determine once and for all if it's actually any good. So, to get things kicked off, our first two scores. Gut reaction, 100% subjective. Did we actually enjoy the film? 3, 2, 1.
8.4.
5.5.
Oh, jeez, man. Low. Oh. All right. Well, I knew you said to me that you had some opinions, and you're pretty much against the grain on this, right?
Broadly, yeah.
Most things I've seen have been pretty glowing.
Yeah, I mean, most of the reviews are about both how enjoyable and how good it was, and I think it deserves a higher score for how good it was. But I just think that I really just didn't enjoy it very much. And the first episode was incredible.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. The second episode was very, very good. The third episode was good but dragged on a bit, and then the fourth one just made me want to kill myself. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so you had your issues with the fourth one. And spoilers. We're going to do spoilers.
Spoilers.
This one came out a while ago and we couldn't really... Yeah, it's a TV show. Look, you got our opinions there. Watch it or don't watch it. We're going to spoil the show. Now, I want to start with you in the fives, especially even with that description there. It sounds like it would have got a much higher score without a fourth episode. So the fourth episode has to be really bad to drag it down that much. So can you talk us through what you thought?
The fourth episode just kind of represented what I think was a kind of underlying problem that was band-aided by the interesting artistic choices, which is like, you know, it's cool doing the one-shot thing, but ultimately it was just a bit boring once we, spoilers, figured out that he did in fact do the murder. Really? Stephen Graham went on to a TV talk thing, and he was like, I didn't want the show to be about whether he did it. I wanted the show to be about why he did it. And as interesting as a character exploration can be, what I found was eventually it got worse and worse. There was simply no plot. There was nobody trying to do anything. There was no series of events. South Park guys have very famously said, a bad story is this happened and then this happened and then this happened, rather than this happened, but this happened, so this happened. And progressively as the show went on, it got more and more this happened and then this happened, and it was just going for so long. Did you feel that?
I completely disagree, man. I really felt like it clearly had a purpose as to why the characters got to the positions that they were in by the end. And one thing I found really refreshing is the fact that we were explained within the first episode that he did it. Yes, you had some conspiratorial stuff, and to be fair, I'm even talking like that third episode, they left a bit to the imagination as to whether maybe all wasn't as it seems. Specifically, I'm talking about how Jamie was so rigorous in his defense of himself, like that he didn't do it. At this point, I'm thinking, is he just mad? Maybe that's the angle they're going, that he has disassociated himself and he doesn't believe he's done it. And it turns out that wasn't the case. He was just defending himself in front of the psychologist. But still, I thought they left enough of that, and the character exploration I really, really enjoyed. I was refreshed by the time we got back to episode 4, and Stephen Graham's character we'd basically not seen for 2 whole episodes, and you just got the fallout from the family, and they depicted it as what were the ramifications of this event, and why did it happen? What would something like this happening mean for you in your family if it did? Like your average run-of-the-mill, we think we're a normal family, and then you drop this bomb on us. That's what I really liked. I'm very surprised that you feel it didn't have any direction.
It was just... It was not that it didn't have direction. It was like a report has a direction, right? It's like, this is an interesting stuff that this report is talking about, but at the end of the day, it's not entertaining. And the gut reaction score is about how entertaining was it? How much did I enjoy watching it? And it's like, yeah, it is kind of interesting dissecting why these things happened, but it wasn't very entertaining. It just really felt like it dragged on. And it just felt like instead of having an interesting and engaging sequence of events plot, it was just like a bit pretentious in the fact that it was like, I'm going to have these massive themes and I'm going to do the one shot thing and all these great things that are really, really impressive. I'm going to do that. And then we'll just do like a character exploration. It'll just be about why he did it. And it's like, okay, but once we know that he did it, then it's just a bit of a like virtue signaling sort of, sanctimonious sort of like, this is how the world is and I'm going to make you sit through 4 hours of it. And it was dressed up in the beginning as this really exciting BBC policed armed drama thing, which is like actually entertaining. And then it just slowly became clear that it wasn't actually going to be like that.
Well, I guess that's what I liked about it the most, really. Like, looking back on it, I liked how idiosyncratic it was, or unique it was, in the fact that it didn't go down that avenue. We found out, like, I was so surprised. My expectations were so subverted after the first episode where we find out that he did it. And then the fact that they really take us on an exploration of the different characters involved. And they leave the... He's not the protagonist, is he, Jamie? But they certainly... He's a focal point of the whole narrative. And they leave him after the first episode. And they don't get back to him until the third. And similarly, the arguably the protagonist in the first episode, Stephen Graham's character, they leave him for the middle chunk of it. And I really felt, and then, again, the police, D.I. Bascom, played by Ashley Walters, I felt that he was going to have some sort of relevant part, but beyond this episode 2, he's gone. And what I really, really did enjoy about it was the fact that it mirrored, it was much more realistic. The one-shot stuff, I agree with you. That, you could say that's a bit superfluous and there just to really draw people in as a gimmick, right?
Bit of attention, yeah.
For sure. But outside of that, part of the reason why it got a higher score in my estimations was because I really thought they did a good job of not virtue signaling. They created quite a balanced view of what had happened, and they unraveled that very well, in my opinion. So there was the murder. We don't understand why. The motive of it gets explained to us in a manner which is interesting, where we're still wanting more. I can understand if you feel like the fourth episode is a bit of a kind of... it just wilts, maybe.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it doesn't. I like that it did that. Like, this happened, and the consequences are just... There you go. You're just left dealing with the mess. These people have a life they're trying to leave, and they're just going to have to try and get on with it. That's what I liked quite a lot about the way that they concluded it. However, up to that point, surely did you not feel like you were on the edge of your seat going into the fourth episode?
Yeah, the third was still pretty good because I really liked the psychologist. I thought she was a really cool character.
Great, wasn't she?
But the plot's so important to me, like the gripping series of events, and it just kind of felt like it was setting up those interesting questions and then giving me really disappointing answers. It's like, oh, did he, didn't he? Yeah, he did. It's like, oh, okay, is he crazy or was he... No, he's just crazy. It's like, and that actually raises an interesting question I was going to ask you, which is like, what do you think was the actual motivation for it in the end then? Like, what's their point? What's the theme? What are they trying to say?
What the motivation for the whole...
Yeah, the whole thing is about why did he do it, right? So why did he do it?
Yeah, well, one thing I saw in my limited research after this, generally I don't like looking into reviews, but for this case, because it was a TV show, I thought, well...
We're on season 2.
Let's mix it up a bit. And something that cropped up a few times was it was exploring male rage and what that can mean, but doing so in a way that it wasn't trying to say, woe is me, look how bad men are at the moment, which I thought they didn't do. Sorry, I agreed with the way that they did it. I thought they touched on it quite well. In terms of his motivation, that's part of the stuff that I didn't enjoy as much. Was the whole, there's like this secret language of the incels and you go on these forums and people are really like these in schools at the moment. And it felt a bit like media stirring things into a frenzy. When is that really that realistic? No. However, if you take that as something that happened, which I gave them that, said, okay, let's pretend that part happened.
Sure.
I thought outside of that, I really liked how realistic it was.
Yeah.
Like, if something like this happened, then the sequence of events that followed, the way they presented it, I was bought into.
Yeah.
And I liked that they didn't just unnecessarily throw in curveballs for the sake of curveballs. They detonated this bomb, and then they showed us what this would mean for all the people involved.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, but I didn't think it was entertaining. And it's, as far as I could tell, it was one really interesting film, and then 3 epilogues, which are just like, okay, now the interesting plot has happened. Here's just the universe following it. So no one's really doing anything anymore.
I do agree with you that my favourite episode by far was the first.
Yeah, because it had like an actual plot, and there was conflict,
exciting.
And there was like, and slowly the answers that it raised, the questions that it raised, the answers just kept feeling so disappointing. And to me, I was just like, oh, okay, so it's just another one. I don't know. It was like, did he or didn't he? It's like, he just did. There wasn't even an interesting way of how it happened. It's just, he just did. It's like, okay, so you've raised this really interesting, like, oh, he might not have done it. And then it's like, there's no interesting explanation. The act 3 of like the resolution, where you go, oh, all these problems we've raised, here's the really cool layout of how we solve them. It's like, no, here's the problem we raised. And this answer is just regular old knife crime murder.
And I think that's why I liked it, though. Did you just get
Fred's interior decor's put a cactus immediately behind where I've just been done by a cactus. Sorry, carry on.
So, yeah, it looks like that hurt you. So, I get what you mean. The first episode I enjoyed the most because it was like police procedural, all in one story. Yeah, the one shot, the tension created by doing it in one shot really worked.
Yes.
One thing I may have preferred, I don't know, is if they had have just done one shot in the first episode.
I was thinking that.
And then, not felt the need to continue it. Maybe that would have left more impact in that first episode. But I do feel like 2, 3, 4 left me asking more questions than if it had just been all in the same format of episode 1 and there had been more conflict and intrigue. We understood that this is what happened, and then we were left questioning, what would that mean? Why is this happening? Mm-hmm. Is it realistic? Are there people out there like this? Do we misunderstand the generation below us by that extent? Can people really be trusted in their own rooms not to do any wrong anymore? And how do we connect with people? How do personal relationships work now? How's that dynamic shifting? And then tied down, I think what pinned these down very well were very standout performances almost across the board. Like, outside of, I didn't even write her name down because I didn't like her, but D.I. Luke Bascom's partner.
Yeah. She
was the only one I didn't really like. And to be honest with her, she was a pretty kind of secondary character. Other than that, across the board, like, obviously Owen Cooper, I thought he did a great job as Jamie. Stephen Graham, that end sequence of him, like the emotion within it in his son's room that he displays was unbelievable.
Powerful. It was powerful.
He's unbelievable. Ashley Walters did great. Erin Doherty, the psychiatrist, was very good. I thought Christine Tremerico, whose name I've misspelled, apologies, but the mum was amazing. Just across the board, they all did a great job. And when I say it's left me asking more questions, it reminds me a bit of like whodunit books or murder mystery books. And I've told you this point before that I have, where they're all great, well, they're all very good, but after a couple of years, you struggle to distinguish between different ones that you've read because they're all pulling from the same different like techniques in order to keep you hoodwinked right to the end. And then there's the big reveal, and then they have to do that all again if they do a sequel. Because of that, it's hard to actually differentiate between these different books, even though going into it, you're probably going to like that genre. The genre's got a great base level, but it's no way it's going to change your life. Whereas something like this, where they've attempted to do something very differently, and I believe they succeeded in so much as I've left actually working out what this would mean if this happened in my life. For me, that's much more of a success than not.
Yeah. I do think it was genuinely interesting, and I think the acting point is good, and I think the execution of the filming is really, really good, and broadly, like, it's a very well made thing. But the Mate Night gut reaction score is to really just hold things accountable if they're not that entertaining for one of us. And this was one where I was like, yeah, okay, you raise interesting questions, but the truth is your plot was actually kind of boring after the first episode, and it just felt like an epilogue. And we've said before about how the perfect film is between 90 minutes and 2 hours. And to me, this felt like a 4-hour film that just didn't need to be that long.
It certainly wasn't perfect, so I wouldn't say that.
Yeah. It was just like, this just needs to be so much shorter.
Well, I would say, outside of just I liked what they went for,
Yeah.
I was very engaged. Like, I was looking forward to every episode.
Yeah.
And the last episode being so kind of underwhelming in a way, it just made me more interested in the choices that they'd made, because I'd liked the first 3 as much as I did.
It's a very forgiving way of putting that.
No, I'm probably just not articulating myself well enough. I thought that I remember thinking, wow, they've really set the scene of a family that had something terrible happen to them and are just trying to crack on. And I really emotionally connected with it. So when I say underwhelming, I don't mean it in that way. I just mean it was a softer landing than you'd expect from the way that they built it up.
Yeah.
And in a way, I felt that had more impact for me because it felt a lot more realistic.
Yeah, I think those are all totally fair points. Yeah, and I think that it will score well in the Mate Night machine. But
which I make it
1 second too.
Time.
Yeah, okay,
time
cool.
To go. I make it time to get on some forums.
Find out
to re-establish the patriarchy.
We better figure out what 80% of the scores are.
Murder a child.
Okay, well, I guess we'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
What are you doing to my car, you pissing idiot?
I didn't do it, Dad. You just stabbed her. That was
Here's a video of you doing it.
It's fake news.
It's AI, Dad. See, that would be
AI.
in touch. Right, we're back from the Mate Night machine.
Ooh.
We have fiddled with some buttons.
With some knobs.
We have
joined a militia.
Cutting edge stats involved as well.
It's chatted for fucking ages.
Major models.
The machine whizzled and whirred for ages.
The loading score was a while. So we've got ourselves a score out of 10, once and for all, that completely determines what this show
you think
actually
of
deserves.
Adolescence.
What you think of Adolescence.
What you can tell people you thought of Adolescence.
So, drum roll, please. Out of 10, Adolescence 2025 to 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, 7.54. Okay. So I think we might have been expecting higher. Any very quick closing statement on why you think it's not quite got as high?
7.54 general Mate Night score is very good.
This is good.
Because there's a lot of factors that go into that. And your subjective ranking as well. Obviously, you didn't really like it.
Yeah.
Given you didn't really like it, I think 7.5 is...
Not too bad.
Not too bad, yeah.
When we dissected it with the Mate Night machine, I think that the cracks started to show a little bit in terms of the areas that felt a bit weaker, and perhaps it could have been 4 45-minute episodes or something.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's more of a character study, right?
Yeah,
and if you're really in the mood for that, I think it's a great one.
Yeah, okay. Or you could just go paint your house. I mean, that's about as interesting, about as exciting. Yeah.
You could just spray paint nonce on someone's van. That's a load of entertainment, that.
Okay, so for those on the YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.
See you in Cannes.